Hey, what's up, everybody? Jake here, and welcome back to the Card Lounge podcast. I'm here with my co-host,
RoboSkills. What's up, guys?
and we just got back from our very first vending experience at the Las Vegas Card Show, and we made $1 million, everyone.
$1 million. No,
Okay,
we didn't.
well,
Yeah,
it was
a
fun.
great show. It's like, it was also Father's Day weekend.
Yes. Okay, so basically, let me give you guys the con experience for us, okay? We went to the Las Vegas Card Show. It is not the premier card show of Las Vegas. There's other ones, something like Front Row Card Show is a little bit larger, usually double the amount of vending tables. But we're excited about this one. It was successful.
Yeah.
We definitely got some amazing deals, some amazing sales. Not as high as I was expecting. I was expecting very high, but I aimed high. And
Sure.
it was really successful. It was fun. There was a ton of people who watched the podcast that went up to us, and we loved interacting with you guys.
That was really cool. Thank you guys for coming out and just, saying that you listen or watch the podcast. It was really cool meeting all you guys coming up to the table.
We sold around roughly 40 of these mega booster packs, and we watched a ton of people open them with us.
Yeah.
And everyone had a blast. Like, everyone was stoked to open them up. We actually opened up a couple of these with other content creators. I think Jinxie Co's opened up one of them with us. And I remember her eyes. She was like, what? These packs are
the
in
packs
here?
inside,
She was
yeah.
really excited. She didn't even pull an Evolving Skies pack.
Yeah,
but she
she's cool.
pulled Fusion Strike, Paldea Evolve, Prismatic Evolutions.
Prismatic, yeah.
Yeah, and she was very happy with the results from her pack. So I was happy that these were fun for people.
Yes, I feel like a lot of people that we got to film the openings for pulled a lot of Prismatic. And then maybe, I guess the people that walked away must have got all the Evolving Skies packs because we know.
Yeah, we didn't see too many Evolving Skies pack open in front of us, but like there were quite a few fun packs open.
Yeah.
So people were very excited about these. We still have roughly maybe 50 to 60 of these. So we're going to have those available on sale to Card Lounge listeners. There'll be a link down in the description. So if you guys want to purchase the leftover ones, this is our first beta test of these. If you purchase one for them, leave us a review, leave us a comment, let us know what you think about them, and we'll make probably better versions in the future.
For our first iteration, yeah, because if these are the beta packs, we can make some more going into Front Row Las Vegas. So we'll definitely have some more, especially when these sell out.
Yeah, I'm very happy that the results of these were that they were fun and entertaining, and no one felt like they were ripped off, because that's the one thing I didn't want to happen, because I've opened up a lot of mystery boxes in my time on YouTube. And yeah, I've opened up like $100 mystery box where at the end of it, I'm like, wow, I just got robbed for $100.
Yeah,
like
shout
straight
out
up.
to MJ Holding, because some of theirs are, ooh, man.
Yeah. So no matter what packs you get from these, you should feel like, oh my goodness, I got Champion's Path, Crown Zenith, Prismatic,
cool
151. Like, you feel like you got your money's worth out them, and that was our goal. So I'm glad that these were positively received. So that was really great part of it. What were some of the fun deals that you saw, or what did you were surprised by the vending experience?
Sure. You know what? It was a good show. When you're talking about like just having really high expectations, I think also we are very used to going to big shows like, Front Row and Burbank and Collecticon, and I feel like when you're at those shows, I watch vendors where as soon as they wrap up a deal, they're like the next person that's already looking at the table wants to talk to them to buy or sell them something. And I felt like there was more downtime at the show, but then to your point, it was like, that's good, because maybe we would have been really overwhelmed if we constantly had people coming to us like back to back to back. Of course, that would mean, more sales or more money or, potentially buying more stuff. But, the fact that we got a little moment to like take a breather in between, different people. I also feel like a lot of people came to the table where I had just like great conversations with people, whether or not they bought something or not. Some people were thinking about a couple things. We talk about things and they were talking about their budget. We talk about cards and where they think they're going to be a month or two from now. And, some people bought stuff, and then some people are like, you know what? I'll hold off on this.
Yeah.
I think the biggest sale I made was an Umbreon 9 Aquapolis Hollow.
Yeah.
And that was just such a big sale, because I remember when I got that and I just see how much the card has gone up just in a very, very short amount of time. And I feel like every other person that was coming to our table was just asking about that Umbreon. It was crazy. Oh, and all my Gengars pretty much were just
I did see a lot of people coming up to our table and asking about Gengar. So that's something, the information that you get when you vend is that if everyone is coming to you and saying, hey, I want a Gengar, suddenly that sends a signal that like, hey, hang on, maybe something's kind of happening in the market right now. So definitely vendors get some good insight. And I know I was a little bit harsh on this con at the beginning, and Rob's absolutely right. It wasn't like our experience was bad. It was actually a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
We didn't have like gangbuster sales, but that was really actually kind of solid because it is our first vending show, and we had time to set up. We had time to understand how to vend pretty much because we had to learn. If we had a line for our table, we would have been like, oh my goodness, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
We would have absolutely been overwhelmed by the whole entire experience. But you're right, because the show was a little bit on the slower side, there was less foot traffic. It gave us time to have 20 or 30-minute conversations with some fans or viewers or other collectors who came to our table and just talk about Gengar for 30 minutes, and that felt fine.
It was
it
fun.
didn't felt rushed.
Right. It feels like what I think is one of the cool things about the hobby or going to even any of the bigger shows is just meeting your fellow collectors in the hobby, in the space. Like whether or not, people were we had the one guy that was like a content creator and he filmed opening our mega booster pack like at our table, and then other people that just either enjoyed the podcast or enjoyed like what slabs we had out on the table. It was like really cool to just kind of talk with all these different people in Las Vegas and see when and how their collecting journey started. So that was cool.
Yeah, shout out to all of the podcast listeners that came up to our table. There were a lot of you guys, so it was a really fun time. I'm glad to meet with all of you. You guys were all fantastic. You guys were awesome. I hope to see you guys at future conventions, because that's the point of these conventions, is that you get to meet other collectors in person, and it's just like a fun experience. Some people were shocked that we shop at their local Target or local GameStop, and that was fun.
Even, dude, the other vendors, like the people that were vending behind us. I met this really cool guy. I think he went by like Zombout. There were other vendors that were just around us that I got to know, or I remember seeing them as I was walking around for like looking at different things. And when I was looking for cards, people were like, oh, I recognize you. And then they would be like, oh wait, the podcast, Card Lounge. And then there were some people that recognized me from previous Las Vegas shows. But now it's kind of cool because it's like, oh, they're vending and I'm vending. And there is kind of like this like shared vending camaraderie, amongst all the vendors at certain shows. So that was,
The one
awesome.
thing that surprised me about vending, and maybe I shouldn't be surprised by this, but sort of like the power of vending is that there were people coming up to our table that were selling stuff to us, and they're like, hey, would you like to purchase some Pokemon cards? And we would say, yeah, we would purchase it, and they would show us some cards, and we would value it. And we would pretty much do maybe like 80 to 70% of the market value of that card. And a lot of people would say, yeah, that's a fantastic deal, and we'll shake on it. Yeah. And I would say, like, really? You would sell that card for 70% when I would have just bought that card from another vendor for 100%. It's that people are coming up to us willing to sell cards, and they are fully okay with it being at 70 to 80% market.
That's how you have to sell any. I mean, yeah, they know if they sell on eBay, they're probably only pocket 80% anyway. It's not too much work for them to be able to go to a show where they want to look at things and enjoy the experience, plus buy other things that, they see like around the con. And, it's obviously something better than if they go to their local LGS. I still can't believe. I think the crazy thing that I hear about, just from, LGSs and when people go directly into a card shop as opposed to a convention is just how low of a, they'll buy it like 50% or 40%. And it's like, wow, that's why I think conventions, for whatever reason, I guess because everyone has to be a little bit more competitive with each other because it's all the vendors in one space, and everyone's aware that any sort of convention goer could just shop around their card or could go talk to whoever. So, you have to be somewhat competitive on the pricing.
Right.
As opposed to like a random shop in a random city. If someone comes in like, hey, I need to sell Pokemon cards, they can't just go next door and get a second offer. They have to do so much other legwork that usually if they're coming into a shop, the shop could just say like, oh, I'll give you $20 for that. And it's like if they need cash right then and there, they're going to take it.
Yeah, that's actually a great thing about conventions is that if you are trying to sell anything, you might think, oh, why would I go to a convention? But you have 80 shops or 100 shops
in
right
one spot.
And so you could easily take your card, go down to all 80 shops, and figure out which one will pay you the best price rather than going to one single card shop and just having to listen to one person's point of view.
Yep.
If you go to 80 of them and 10 of them all give you an offer, you know exactly what the best offer is. And there's a lot of credibility and safety around it rather than meeting someone in a car down the street at a police station or something like that, where it can get kind of sketchy or dangerous. Conventions are a really safe place to transact whatever you want to sell. So people are very happy to take 70 or 80% from us because they know that even though we're giving them 70% of market, we are not ripping them off.
Right.
We are being very transparent about like, hey, here's why I'm giving you 70% on this card. And if they shake on it, they know that's the best deal. Out of all of these people, we gave them the best deal on that card.
And I felt like that for a lot of the times. Like they felt, or that they were happy with our offers when I was even thinking of like anything between 70 to 85%, stuff that I felt was like really strong product. Because obviously if it's something that I feel like I wouldn't want myself or would be harder to move, then I wouldn't necessarily want to pay 70% on something like that. But everything coming up to the table was good sealed product, good cards, like illustration rares, alt arts, just kind of stuff that maybe someone didn't want and they'd rather have like a slab that we had instead. Also, speaking of security, like the legit security, kudos to the Las Vegas card show, because I feel like I always saw like security personnel walking around. I even talked to one of the guys that was manning the door. He was like super chill, super into cards, but also very like just responsible and respectable. Like it felt like if someone was going to be like, walking around, or if someone like stole a binder off a table and started to run with it, these guys would like run after that guy and like tackle him down. And I noticed, did you notice the ceiling of where we actually vended?
Yeah.
Did you ever look up?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
There was a beautiful chandelier. What did you see?
No. Did you see like everything else on the ceiling?
Lights and cameras?
The cameras.
Yeah.
It was like every 2 feet there was another camera that had another angle of each. It seems like, so they could definitely make sure that there's not going to be some that like, remember at the Dallas card show when that guy just got his whole suitcase like stolen somehow at the end of the show, where they just lifted up his suitcase and walked out with it. Like that's crazy, so I really felt like they did a good job, ran a good show. It's kind of nice for that little thing in the middle too, where you can just go get like drinks or food whenever you want from sort of any direction of the convention.
Yeah. So general thoughts on the show. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll probably do the next one. If you guys are going to the next Las Vegas card show, there is another one later down this year. Hit us up. We'll probably be at that one. So hope to see you guys there. We'll try to make even better deals with you, and hopefully you guys can purchase some awesome cards directly from the Card Lounge itself. Card Lounge will be right back after this brief message from our sponsor,
Collectr. This episode of the Card Lounge podcast is sponsored by Collectr, the smart app for tracking your trading card collection. Whether you're into Pokemon, One Piece, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball, Collectr makes tracking your collection effortless.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Rob. I've been using the Collectr app for years. It's an absolute game changer. Whether you're just looking to organize your inventory or catalog all of your whole entire collection, know what your prices are and know what your collection is worth, you gotta try out the Collectr app today.
And the interface is clean and intuitive. No more digging through spreadsheets or scribbled notes. You just have a polished, easy to navigate layout designed by collectors for collectors.
So if you're still using a binder or a basic notes app, it's time to take control and download the Collectr app today. Available on iOS and Android. Use it now and streamline your entire collection today. Try the Collectr app today. Thank you again to them for sponsoring the Card Lounge podcast.
Trust me, once you try it, there's no going back.
I wanted to touch on another topic was how much value do we get out of the show personally? So interestingly enough, I walked in the show with a lot of money. And I walked out with $4,000 less than what I came in with, but I felt like I got a lot of value added to my collection because I ended up making more purchases than I actually sold cards. I definitely sold some cards, and we made some pretty solid sales too. So one of the sales that you were talking about, you sold yourself a PSA 9 Umbreon, a pretty large $1,000 or $2,000 card. I also made a pretty large sale. I sold off one of my Magikarp PSA 10s, illustration rare. I think I sold it for $1,800 this weekend.
Which was a good deal for someone now that we see what the Magikarp is selling for now.
I'm happy with the deal because
you still have your other one too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Basically, when Rob invited me to vend with him, I didn't really have a lot of inventory, so I just took some cards that I had around that I was okay selling. And the Magikarp illustration rare PSA 10, I picked it up about a month ago, listed it at the show. Someone purchased it from me for $1,800. 2 weeks before, it was going for $1,000. No big deal. But I think the Magikarp's like going for like $3,000 now, something ridiculous. So that's the kind of crazy stuff that can happen at a show, is that I made money from my deal, but then this next guy who purchased the card could very much make even more money from the same deal. Crazy stuff.
Do you think that that is the true value of the card though? Like, that's a question I feel like even people were talking to us about at the show, especially when the conversation of graded stuff came up and like population reports and how much stuff gets like cracked out. It's kind of like a lot of inflation in the numbers there, but specifically for also comping cards and really knowing what the true value of a card is. I think there's so many new people like entering the hobby that don't know what a comp is, and know like that a comp isn't necessarily defining the real value of a card. It's just a comparable. Like, that's what comp is short for.
Sure.
So, if someone went out and bought like 15, 20, 25, 30 Magikarps at $1,000, and then, like 2-3 weeks later, you see this sale on eBay, $3,000. That could easily be just like one guy throwing up a card and then being like, oh, like, I'm going to call someone, or they could just even go on a different eBay account and just buy that card to establish some sort of, new floor for the card or new value. And it doesn't necessarily indicate that value of the card should have jumped $1,000 in a week. That seems so stark.
Yeah, it is very stark. It is not normal. And we talk about this all the time. When a card jumps that quickly and that rapidly over the course of a weekend, it's not normal.
Yeah.
And we would not be picking up that card at $3,000.
Exactly. So that's why Jake's not like crushed guys that, he sold his card at $1,800. That's still very good. It's more than what he bought it for. It's a lot of money. And $3,000 is like, if people start to think the value is it doesn't necessarily mean the value can't get up there, right? But I want to see like 5, 10 more on, known sales where that many people are willing to pick up that card for $3,000 no matter what. Given the past sales history of a bunch being sold at $2,000 or less, I don't see any at 2.2, 2.4, 2.6. But if enough people in the world do think it's worth, they would rather have that card over $3,000, then a lot of data points will start to flow in that suggest that. And that's how the true value of the card has started to move up a bit, actually.
So for the Magikarp, for instance, we've seen 2 or 3 sales right now at the $3,000 price point. And I would be hard to find a vendor that's willing to pay $2,600 for it, or $2,500.
Right.
If you take that card and you share it with all the vendors at Front Row Card Show or Collecticon, I don't think there are that many vendors that are willing to drop $2,000 plus on that card right now.
Right.
They would probably pass at that price.
I think I would.
Right. And that's what we mean when we say, like, we don't think that that price is really credible. Mm-hmm. And you're saying once there's 10, 20 sales, you're suddenly like, okay, well, maybe there's some truth in that. But as of right now, we wouldn't be picking up that card at $3,000, even though we see some sales at $3,000. And I understand where you're coming from with that, because basically a PSA 9 Magikarp is currently going for around $200 or $300. And just in last week's episode, what we talked about? We said, hey, if you regrade PSA 9, I bet you can get some PSA 10s. Mm-hmm. If that Magikarp is truly $3,000 at a PSA 10, I can probably pick up 10 copies of PSA 9s, and I could probably get a couple in a 10. And that's why it can't be $3,000.
Exactly. So Jake's logic is exactly how I think about it too. It's like you can't have a infinite money glitch, guys. That's what supply and demand, it's economics 101. It's like, if at that point, if we're really going to pretend like the PSA 10 is $3,000 right off the bat, and we're still seeing PSA 9s at, like 200, you would rather just buy 15 PSA 9s for the same amount of money, crack them and resend them to try to just, if 3 of them got a 10, that would be insane, you know, like so the market will make sure that, you know, there's self corrections, and it's not going to allow anything silly like that to happen. Plus, to your point, it's like, we'll hear about if vendors are picking it up for that price. Vendors aren't going to pick it up for that price unless they know there's a lot of confidence in selling the fish at $3,000. And when there is that confidence, we will hear about the sales that happen, or, you know, people buying it in at 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. And since I haven't talked to any of my friends where they've been saying like, oh yeah, I just bought this fish for 2.5, it lets me know that that kind of $3,000 sale was more of a anomaly, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And if that price sticks, I'm going to bring one of those Magic Card PSA 10s that I still have to Card Party, and I'll try to trade it to a vendor for as close to market value as I can. And I can make a lot of value to do a lot of giveaways, because we are giving away a lot of cards at Card Party, a lot of cards, and it would pay for a lot of giveaways. So I'm happy about that if that price sticks.
And it's going to go to you guys that are subscribed right now. So definitely still share the podcast out, but also we're going to reward longtime Card Lounge listeners. And, you know, if you start listening to the podcast now too, and this is your first time hearing about us, come to Card Party and you'll get some cool cards.
Yeah, if you're a first time listener, you're in for a ride. Like Pokemon is not boring. I'll say that. There's wild stuff like the Magikarp happening like every day. There's crazy comps like that all the time, where you and I are blown away by some prices on cards all the time. Like Tag Team GX cards are going insane right now. Gengar cards are going insane. Umbreon cards are going insane. Mega cards are making a return. Yeah. Like the N's Reshiram, you know, the N alt art in Cosmic Eclipse, where it's N in the middle with Zekrom and Reshiram.
Oh, yeah.
That card is going insane right now because a black and white making a return.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that. That's a card I have inside of my collection, so I've been tracking it, but the comps on it are wild.
The rainbow one or the non-rainbow?
Just the non-rainbow one, the alt art one. I know you have the rainbow one, and I have the alt art one.
Okay, that's what it is.
And the thing is, like, they're both really good, but basically because N's making a return, Zekrom and Reshiram are making a return, the comps on that card went from being like an $800 PSA 10 to over $2,000 in a PSA 10. Crazy stuff.
Black and white just has like people have been opening up the Japanese like Black Bolt and White Flare, and it's fun. Like, they made an illustration rare for every single Pokemon, and it's really fun to open up the product. I think the English set will do great. Black Bolt's like, dude, last night we pulled a God pack, and everyone freaked out. Like
what was in your God pack? Let me hear about this Reshiram and Black Bulk and White Flare.
It had the Zekrom. It was a Black God pack.
Okay.
We pulled a Morgan Freeman pack, and it was crazy. It just had 5-6 illustration rares and the Zekrom alt art.
What? So you pulled Morgan Freeman pack and you didn't tell me?
I guess, yeah. We pulled the Morgan Freeman pack, and then, you know, it was cool because the whole chat like got super excited. Everyone exploded, and it was from someone that's been in the Pokeball squad for forever and was like, you know, we should just open up some black and white. So it was cool. And one thing I am really shocked by is I pulled that God pack before even pulling a chromatic rare, the BWR rarity.
Right.
I think that rarity is a lot more rare than what people are realizing. Because even walking around the show, did you even see anyone that kind of had the new chromatic rare?
Yes. One person, a fan,
showed us. That's right.
A fan who pulled the card from her very first Black Bolt pack, or very first box, went up to us and showed it to us, and it was really cool to see.
Cool.
It looked really, really cool.
That was the first one I'd ever seen in person, but the fact that no other vendor, like, you know what I mean? No vendor has one picked up.
Right.
No vendor talked to everyone else in their network and was able to get one to be able to bring the show. I think that card is I don't actually, you know what? I guess I don't know what they even go for right now, but I'm going to say it's kind of like how, you know, Moonbreon is more expensive and all these alt arts from Evolving Skies, because for whatever reason, when the Sword and Shield stuff went into Evolving Skies, the rarity of alt arts kind of, you know, that it was hard to hit. And I think these new BWRs are going to be hard to hit.
Right. I understand what you mean, is that basically this is where the Pokemon company likes to experiment with different kinds of new ideas with alt arts, gimmicks and whatnot. With these new chromatic rares, what Rob is saying is this is almost a new rarity tier.
Like a manga rarity.
Right.
For
which
One
is
Piece.
basically, alt arts are pretty rare. You pull an alt art in 1 in 100 booster pack or something like that. 1 in 100 1 in 100 booster pack, you pull yourself a special illustration rare, which is right around the odds right now in Destined Rivals, Journey Together. What you're saying is with the new chromatic rare in Black Bolt and White Flare, it could be 1 in 1,000, 1 in 2,000 packs where they make it super rare.
Super rare. It's like they're trying to make a new manga level rarity because there's alt arts in One Piece TCG, right?
Right.
And then your second tier up alt art. Well, then you have SPs, right? And then you have the manga rarity. And this thing seems very like a manga rare pool.
Yeah, people really haven't talked about the pull rate for Black Bolt and White Flare that much yet, and we really don't know what the pull rates for it's going to be, in English.
In English, yeah.
But if it is that rare, then we could be looking at like a $3,000 Pokemon card or something in here.
Exactly, and then also it's like, what is that going to do to the pack price? Like an English pack price, we're already starting to kind of get used to how much more expensive it is compared to what it used to be, just because they just can't even print enough to meet the current demand in the hobby.
Right.
But then you throw in this like super ultimate mega rare chase. It's like, what is that going to
most
do?
likely Black Bolt and White Flare, the English version, will also have God packs. It's very likely.
Right. And then you saw what that did to Prismatic Evolutions alone, just introducing that thing that they've been doing in Japanese Pokemon forever. And then look how expensive Prismatic Evolutions is, let alone the fact that, half of our audience, or maybe even just 30 to 40% of the entire Pokemon collecting community still hasn't even opened a pack of it yet, which seems insane,
Someone actually, while we were vending, brought a Prismatic Evolutions God pack up to us and said, hey, I pulled the God pack and I'm just looking to sell it. I'm not really into Pokemon that much, I think. And he said he was willing to just sell us his God pack. We didn't end up making a deal with it, but it was wild, that this is someone that can just open up a booster pack and get themselves $5,000 worth of value in a single pack or something. That's absolutely kind of insane to think about in the Pokemon hobby.
Yes.
Which is, he wasn't even that into the pack. He just wanted to sell it, get some money, and do whatever he wants because, $4,000 or $3,000, whatever he gets for the pack, that's like a vacation.
Yeah, it's a meaningful amount of money to a lot of Americans, or even just people outside of America. The funny thing is, it's like, you can probably think about the fact of how that would influence just someone wanting to go buy. Like a lot of people talk about like scalpers and stuff like that. It's almost not even like more more scalpers are probably buying Pokemon product when they can get their hands on it, but it's also for this reason I'm about to say. And this reason I'm about to say explains why more people are just buying Pokemon as opposed to even scalpers or just regular everyday collectors. And what I mean by that is your average everyday Joe Schmo that didn't buy Pokemon before probably walked into a Target, has noticed the card aisle, but there hasn't been a lot of news or hubbub or anything of, I guess, like any exclamation of, the money that you can get out of Pokemon cards. But of course, like a lot of scalpers go into that type of field when they see there is like a way to get a lot of money quick. But also I'm thinking there's probably a lot of people that just can now kind of attribute certain sets, at least because of Prismatic introducing the God Pack, as almost like a mini lottery game or mini lotto ticket. A lot of people go into a gas station and just buy scratch offs. And, I don't really do those things, but I know a lot of people do, right? And it's just for fun because they'll spend a couple bucks to kind of gamble on the fact that maybe they could win 400 or $1,000 or $4,000. And it's like with Prismatic Evolutions, it's kind of what you were saying before about, money and how the market has to correct itself in the sense that you can't have a pack that's $4 or $5. Like Prismatic can't be that, because of even if you took every scalper out of the game, if you can pull a $5,000 God pack, and that's what all the evolutions are worth added up, if a pack is only $5, everyone's going to play that. It's a low enough buy-in that everyone buys to try to hit it. So when everyone does that, that's what raises the price eventually. And that's why Prismatic Evolution is one of the more expensive packs in Scarlet and Violet, because you can pull a God pack.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there are people that talk about Pokemon cards like, oh, why does it have to be about the money? It really isn't.
Right.
When you and I talk about the cards,
exactly,
we talk about the art, the rarity. We are truly passionate about the hobby, but you cannot separate the value of the cards out of the conversation. It's integrated in the hobby.
Yes.
And the money does talk. Is that money is almost like or value is almost like ingrained in all languages. Once you have some value in the conversation, it intrigues a lot of people. People get intrigued by it. They're like, really? These packs, they're $5, but you can pull $5,000 worth of value. Like that seems intriguing to people,
Right.
normal everyday people, and it's fully understandable why they would want to open up some of these packs that are intriguing to them. And when someone pulls a really cool card, it almost brings a smile to their face. We see it all the time, is people that are saying like, hey, this is my first booster pack I've ever opened, and they pull themselves like $100 card and they post it on Reddit and everyone goes crazy about it, like, what, you pull that? And then they get immediately hooked. They're like, they start researching that one card and they start realizing like, oh, there's value in these, I can open up more packs.
Right.
And suddenly you have a new collector in a certain way.
Yeah, that is like part of the, I guess, excitement too. I think it's important to note that obviously, even if these cards had no value, I mean, we'd still have this podcast and we'd still be talking about the cards, right? But I think especially for reaching a wider audience, it's exactly like what you said. Like just the value aspect really can't be separated, and really from any hobby, but it just goes to show you how strong the nostalgia connection is for people and Pokemon. And as long as Pokemon keeps reiterating new generations for new kids growing up, I don't know if Pokemon ever loses, because I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, if a hobby got so popular that it makes the hobby more expensive or accessible, like pickleball, pickleball has always been like around, but it's kind of like a relatively new thing as far as like new in the zeitgeist.
I understand what you're saying is that in the last year or two, pickleball became trendy.
Huge. And so now everyone wants to play pickleball. So I feel like collectors that were like, oh, we collected before all this hype and I don't care about the value and I collect that just to collect, that's fine. And, that's good. And, we do the same thing, but it's like, you can't deny the fact that it's probably the same way people that played pickleball and, they could go to a court anytime they wanted and it was always free. But when pickleball is so fun and that's the reason you like it, and people share that experience with others and then they enjoy it and it gets everyone in, and then it gets popular so fast, pickleball paddles, like good ones, probably go up in price, and it probably costs more to get, or it's harder to get a pickleball court, because you're going to a place and now 50 other people are going there, and instead of being able to get on the court immediately, now like more people want to play it and then you have to wait. So it's like simultaneously good for your hobby, because the more people that want to play it, you can always have an opponent to play. If you go solo, there's always going to be someone down there that is down for a pickup game of pickleball. But also it just comes with like, it's always going to be a double-edged sword, right? With more popularity, it makes things more competitive to get the same things that you're used to. And then that usually makes costs go up because supply and demand, right?
Yeah,
just with anything.
I fully like that analogy. I'm going to throw out another one.
Sure.
And I think you'll agree with this one too, which is, you're a gym goer. I'm a gym goer. We go to the gym. I'll tell you what it is. It's like when you go to the gym every day, you're a normal, casual gym goer, and it's January.
And then the New Year's resolution people come in.
And then suddenly,
it annoys the regular everyday gym goers.
Yeah, and suddenly you're a normal gym goer, and suddenly the gym that you always go to, which is casual, is now packed full of people, and you're just experiencing a large surge in something that you casually always do, and it kind of disrupts your routine, and it's kind of irky. Like, you don't like, I can't find parking at the gym. I've experienced that where I drive to my gym and I can't find a single parking spot after driving around for 20 minutes.
I can't find Pokemon cards at Target anymore.
Right.
I haven't seen a Pokemon card on the shelf at Target in multiple states I've been in for the last 2 months of my life, I feel. 3 maybe? It's insane,
Yeah.
Unless you live in, the middle of America or like, I don't know, Kentucky or Tennessee. It's like, it's kind of funny how there's these like states with smaller populations, and I would still feel like there's demand in those populations, but you would think, I don't know how distro is like managing where items are going, but there's like places that have smaller population, but they get such a huge supply to their big box stores. And then there's populations where, like in California, it's a huge population. So you would think they'd get 10 times more products sent there, but they don't. You get less. And I actually don't get how that, from a, business standpoint, how you let that happen. But
it is interesting ratio wise. And I fully understand what you mean is that one Walmart can only handle so many Pokemon card products for instance. So they'll send every Walmart 10 ETBs. And that's what they can shelf it. They don't send a high volume Walmart 100 ETBs. They all send every Walmart around 10 ETBs, for instance. Maybe a high class one or like a high demand one, they send 20, but they don't send 100, even though that's the correct ratio.
No, well, they should send 100, but that's what I am saying though. If you look at like a random Walmart in the middle of, I don't know, yeah, like Kentucky or Tennessee, I've seen people, these videos will be on TikTok where the entire shelf is stacked with Walmarts or with ETBs at their at one Walmart or a Target. But if you go to like a Californian one, they don't even get enough to fill in one bottom row. You know what I mean? So it's like why would you but the population in this city is like 10x the population in that city where that Walmart got literally like, I don't know, like 60 or 70 ETBs. Like it'll be that
I
much.
see where you're coming from. And I'm going to state about it from a logistics perspective, which is basically, it's very likely that those rural areas might have better or value distribution from the card distributor. Wherever that card distributor is, it might be easier for them to get the money there.
That could be a thing.
It's just more money efficient.
I see what you're saying.
And I'm saying this is that Walmart in San Francisco, for instance, sure, they could get more Pokemon cards, but it might not be worth it for Walmart to ship Pokemon cards there. They could stock clothes or some other gimmick on that same shelf and still sell. Basically, if they can still sell out of something else, they'll just rather sell out of that, because the cost of getting Pokemon cards to that volume might not be cost efficient for them. That
could very well be. Yeah, that seems like a logical answer. There's probably some of that involved with it, but yeah, it seems like, I don't know. It seems like they could do a little more. Like, I don't know how much penny pinching that helps increase Walmart and their bottom line.
We are just little like ants.
That's true. The card
in the giant cog machine, we're like nothing.
It is funny though. See, and then we talk about how we've talked about how even like Walmart or Target, the card section, especially during COVID when all the fights were happening in the parking lot, they were like a lot of them just got rid of it. I don't know how store to store they can decide how that happens, but I find it interesting that for them, it's still a relatively small amount of money it makes them. I guess because they have everything else in their store.
Right. Basically, trading cards is like one SKU out of like millions that they have, right? In the terms of how much revenue Pokemon cards bring Walmart, is probably like a decimal. It's not even 1%.
But it's so it probably doesn't affect their bottom line a lot. But then if you look at another giant corporation over here, you got GameStop. And in GameStop, card selling affects their bottom line so much that now GameStop is thinking about just kind of converting or transforming into card shops. Because then they can, there's still games. So it's like it's still under the GameStop brand. But I guess, physical video game copies are starting to die out. And dude, the last 50
it makes sense
times,
for them. They have to adapt.
I've gone into a GameStop. Like other people around me that are also in there, they're looking for cards. They're not looking for video games.
So that makes total sense to me, which is basically over the past 5 to 10 years, GameStop has been slowly dying, and they do need to pivot to make their business survive.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for them to pivot to what is successful. So when currently GameStop, what do they get lines for? Besides a big console release, no one waits in line for the release of a new video game anymore.
Bingo.
But what are they waiting in line every Saturday for? Trading card releases. We know like Magic the Gathering for Final Fantasy came out. There was a line for that. Pokemon gets line. So trading cards are getting lines of people to GameStop, which is why they're pivoting to cards, which makes total sense. If I was their business, I would do the same thing, which is do a little bit less of like the gimmicky stuff, like video games. And I'm talking about like the merch. Like they sell lots of like figures and clothing, even apparel, like video game nerdy clothing, which doesn't sell that well.
Sit in their I wonder how much that sells very often.
Yeah, because if you go into GameStop, you can buy like a Sonic or Pokemon mug or like really random stuff. But people walk in the door for trading cards, which is what they're catering to more because that gets people in.
Have you seen the GameStops that are now they have like little card sections, like because they've bought, we already know how that you can grade through to PSA now. And they're selling slabs. And also now some GameStops have little sections where they're putting singles out.
Yeah.
like a card shop.
Yeah,
It's
you
crazy.
and I actually did videos on this, which is that GameStop has started selling their own graded mystery bags. You remember
Oh
those?
yeah, and that.
And
It's
that makes
wild.
total sense to me
It
now,
does,
which is basically they intake a lot of graded Pokemon cards because you can sell your graded Pokemon cards to GameStop right now. You wonder if I take my Magikarp illustration
don't.
PSA 10 and go to GameStop,
Yeah.
how much trade-in value I
They're
can get?
gonna offer you $700. So guys, don't
No,
sell your
$70
cards.
and like God of War 2.
Yeah,
Like a copy of God of War 2.
$70 and like 15 extra bucks of like in-store trading credit. So if you buy a video game, yeah, you get more. Guys, sell your cards to Jake or I first before GameStop. We promise we can beat the offer that they give you.
Yeah.
I 1,000% can guarantee you
So
that.
in the mystery pack from GameStop that I opened, I actually got really decent value. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, why did they put this in here? But then I thought about it because I pulled like a Misty's Japanese Tentacruel or something, which was like $100 worth of value, which was good value. But I realized, I was like, oh, who is going to go on GameStop and buy a Misty's Tentacruel?
Choose to buy that.
No one.
Yeah.
Which is why it didn't sell. So how do they offload it? They put it inside of these little mystery bags. Like the inventory that couldn't sell in like 6 or 8 months, if it's been on their website forever, even if it's decent value, they'll probably throw it in these mystery bags. So that makes sense now why they even produce their own mystery product, because how else would you offload this inventory?
And you just mentioned something funny, like you just happened to get a vintage like slab. That was pretty cool. I mean, it's in Japanese.
I've seen people get
so-
like $30 or $40 or like $20 PSA 10s too, or PSA 9s even.
But that's the thing. There's probably going to be some slabs that they take in that are like someone graded a V card, right? And then like even the grading cost involved, you know, it's like a Mimikyu V, even in a 10, it's probably not even like 15, 20 bucks.
Right,
but
it's worth
certainly-
its raw price pretty much.
Right, in a 9 or 8, it's probably less than what it costs to get the card graded. So it's like, you know, why did someone send it in? But you got so many new people entering the hobby. They're just kind of sending in whatever. And then also, did we ever talk about on a previous episode the fact that GameStop was doing the Whatnot and they had their first kind of official Whatnot show?
No, I did see that GameStop has an official Whatnot live stream.
So
I saw that.
now they're just going to bypass trying to sell any cards at any MSRP value to any customer, because that's why people, I think, are lining up at GameStops, because they get somewhat of an a lot of the collectors in line are like, well, we don't want to pay scalper pricing, right?
Right.
But it seems like if GameStop just can live stream, which is kind of scary. I actually don't, I want to get your thoughts on if you think it's a good or bad thing, because if they just have a bunch of channels across all of their shops, how would any LGS in the same city as any GameStop, which, in any city you could have, given how big it is, 3 or 4 GameStops, in just different quadrants of the city. How are you going to compete with that if they're also acting as an LGS store and they get like big box distribution because they just have, corporate money?
Yeah, it's economy of scales at that point. And you're absolutely right, that's the next step, is that if Livestream Selling, which, has always been around like QVC level for like the past 30, 40 years, it's not actually that new. But what if Walmart starts doing their own live stream? What if Target? What if all these companies have like their own, a Walmart channel that just sells stuff directly, and it's at least credible to some level?
Walmart does have live stream selling
Right.
now, right? Because I think that's what Radar does now, or does he's on that team of trying to figure that out.
Pokemon Radar is on Walmart live streaming team. Interesting.
Yeah. Wait, you didn't know that?
No.
I thought this was like it's they're trying to just do like TikTok Shop, but it's Walmart, I think.
Yeah,
And then if
well,
you
I mean,
can-
like Amazon has like Amazon's live stream too. So like it's not new. Everyone's trying to
Twitch?
get into live streaming. Huh? What?
you mean Twitch?
No,
That's
I
their
mean
live
Amazon.
stream.
Amazon actually does
can
like
live
Amazon
stream-
shopping. Do you know what I mean? If you go on Amazon right now, you can actually see people selling jewelry directly on the Amazon website.
It's like they're streaming on it though.
Oh yes, it's been around for quite a while.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, it is kind of wild.
Dude, if all these and that's the thing. That is like that is trending upward. Like I know
Right.
you mentioned QVC. It's kind of like always been around, but I think with the introduction of streaming, and we've talked about this on previous pods, of like all these new kids making like streaming super popular. Like being a live streamer now is like what I hear kind of the new up and coming, like even kids that watch YouTube, they're watching kind of live streamers, are people that are really doing stuff in the moment. And I get it, because live entertainment is fun because it's not scripted. You don't know what's going to happen next, right? So it's kind of interesting if everyone goes to this kind of live shopping experience model, I don't know what that's going to do to cards, but we're already trending like upward in that direction.
Yeah,
I think it
it's
only
so
gets
much
bigger
larger
5
than
years
trading
from
cards.
now.
I know we were talking
Yeah.
about trading cards because obviously that's our podcast and our space.
Yeah.
But this is like so much larger than that. Is that you can buy shoes, coins, drinks. My wife the other day, she was buying drinks on
Bought
Whatnot.
your wife?
Yeah, my wife.
Oh,
What?
because you said,
What did I say? I bought my wife.
well, you said shoes, drinks, coins, my wife, and
Yeah.
then you continued on, but it sounded like it was just another object you bought. Like,
Yeah,
oh my-
so my wife went on Whatnot the other day and
Yeah.
she purchased some like energy drinks on Whatnot.
really?
Yes, and they shipped it to her and we're drinking them at home right now.
Are they good?
They're okay. They're experimental. Let's go with that.
Okay, like
But-
they
but
taste
that's
like
the
Red Bull
interesting-
or something.
Oh yeah, kind of. They're like milk caffeine energy drinks.
Milk caffeine.
Milk caffeinated energy drinks.
Really?
Yes, we have them at home. We might give you one.
Caffeinated milk. Okay, I want to try. Didn't Higa try to like do a? Didn't he start a company where it was like energy milk or something?
That's another conversation, which is content creators making their own
Their own
brand and selling
right,
their own
but
products.
do you know what I'm talking about though? When he had that like
No.
milk soda product or something? Oh.
I've never tried it, but I'm not surprised if he tried to do something like a Prime. You know what I mean?
I wonder what he's doing now. I feel like I haven't heard from him in a minute.
Yeah, but like basically everything's going live streaming, which is another way of just buying stuff nowadays, and people interact with it more. If you
Yeah.
can see someone hold up a product and say they love it, regardless whether it's true or not, it's just easier to sell it.
I think it's also you feel more, I guess, closer to the brand identity and the product itself. I mean, I get why Mr. Beast can make all these things. Kids watch Mr. Beast videos, you know, like why? Of course, they're gonna buy his chocolate bar because he's telling them to buy it, and also he does cool things with his chocolate bars in his videos. You know, when he blows up 4 tanks at the same time with stuffed with 100 pounds of chocolate in it, then the kid's gonna just get their mind blown and be like, yeah, I want that chocolate bar. And then you try it, it kind of does taste better than a Hershey bar, and they don't know who runs Hershey or who, there's no like the CEO of Hershey isn't boots on the ground
Right.
making
I
videos
guess
telling
at the
kids
end
to
of the
buy
day,
Hershey
I know
bars.
who is the owner of Beast Bars.
Right, it makes
I don't
you
know
feel
who the
more
owner
owner
of Hershey's is.
I don't either.
That's the idea, I guess.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I absolutely agree with you.
That's
It's that like
important.
there's some level of authenticity or credibility to it.
Yes.
Like we've talked about this before. It's like why would anyone purchase a booster pack from you to open? It's because you're credible.
No, right.
Right. Basically, Rob opened up a God pack yesterday.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman pack, and he knows for sure that that pack is going to that person.
Yeah, and it was
You're gonna ship it
authentic.
to him.
Like I know where it was sourced from. I know the guy I've been getting this Japanese product from. It's it's not going to be like checked boxes or resealed boxes. So it's like we can pull things like God packs on our
Right,
channel.
exactly. And that's
some
not even-
places can't guarantee that at all.
That's not
which is
even the
crazy.
first God pack you've opened. You've opened up like
yeah.
a prismatic evolution pack.
Prismatic
So that's
one,
the idea.
yeah.
Is that like, why would anyone open up packs from Rob? It's that because he's legit incredible. Like
Yeah.
he would ship you your God pack if you open up one. Of
course.
And you get immediate entertainment. Like why do
Right.
people do it? It's because right now they're like, shoot, I can go to my Walmart and I will find no pack. But if I go on Rob's live stream right now, I can open up one and see if I can pull a God pack immediately. If I want one, I can open it up immediately.
And-
that's the immediate access to opening up a pack.
Immediate access, and you know it's coming in like 48 hours or 72 hours. Like it'll be shipped and at your front doorstep. I think there is this kind of it almost is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because as more and more people buy online or buy from these like live stream shopping experiences, it kind of discourages people from, not discourages, but there's just no product out in the world right now. Like if Pokemon doesn't build a new printing facility, they can keep saying, oh, we're printing as much as we can, but max capacity is max capacity. It's like when everyone, there's so many new people in the hobby. A lot of people thought when Pokemon put out the announcement, like, oh, we're going to be ramping up printing. And people go, oh, see, guys, all of you guys are buying stuff at too high of a price, and all of this is going to be everywhere soon enough. They were saying that 3-4 months ago, and still there's nothing on the shelves. It's because, guys, when Pokemon says they're ramping up, they're ramping from 98% to 99%. That's still ramping up. But guess what? From there, you can only go to 100%. That's max capacity. And then there is no more, unless they buy a plot of land, slab it up, put a building in place, hire workers for that. It takes too much time for them to do that. And they're not going to invest in doing that, even though I think for the long run it would be good, because by the time they put in that huge initial investment, this kind of hype is, they know it's not guaranteed to last, it's not forever long, right? No hype is forever. So it's kind of like the amount of time it would take them to implement a new printing facility isn't worth it to them because it costs them so much money. And then by the time they can utilize it, they don't really need to utilize it that much anymore. Or they can just keep printing at the capacity they are doing. Not everyone can find stuff, but they know like if they put something on the shelves, it's going to be bought right away. And that's just free money for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people looking for someone to blame in like all of this mess about why they can't find Pokemon cards. And the issue is so much more macro than anything you can
realize.
Really yeah.
Yes.
Because there's people out there that's like, dude, it's like the rip and shippers, the scalpers, the content creators, the people who pump and dump. There's the people that ramp up every set like, oh, it's PokeRev's fault. It's this person. It's not that simple.
The micro, right? That's bingo. I agree. Keep going. The micro is so small. I just want to reiterate, but I think you're right. A lot of people are not looking at the macro issues.
It's not easy to look at the macro issues because you can't blame. Gosh darn you, macroeconomics. It's not as fun to blame that. It's easier to say like, oh, dude, it's the people who are opening up packs on live stream. It's the people that are hyping up every new set, like PokeRev opening up a box 2 weeks before it releases. Yeah. He was doing that before any set was ever expensive. Even.
Exactly. I think who made that? Someone made that point. I can't remember if it was like, I don't know, some other PokeTuber made that point. And it's true because, I mean, even if PokeRev opened up 50 booster boxes on day one, people think that is such a drop in the ocean of how much product there is. Rev could open 1,000 booster boxes in the first week, which actually, I mean, that would seem like a lot, but even then it's like, it's just such a small amount in the grand scheme of things of how much product there is that goes everywhere.
And here's the thing. A lot of people like to think like, oh, like right now, like rip and shippers or resellers are making so much money. And it's really not the case. When I talk to people like Jarchomp or Bulbasaur who comes onto our podcast, basically their margin hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. Their margin is still the exact same margin it's always been. It's just that the risk is way higher. And no one wants that high risk. It's basically the volatility at these higher prices is way more dangerous. They were selling a $100 booster box for $120, which means they're making 20%. Mm-hmm. Right now, they're still doing that, which is they're selling a $200 booster box for $240. The margin is still the same, still 20%.
Right.
But basically, the risk is way higher because now the market is super volatile, and they don't like that. No one likes the volatility.
Right. Before a booster box, if someone like a store was going to put it on sale or had a deal, you might find a booster box for $10 less than what you might have bought a booster box for, and you'd be like, oh, I overpaid. I spent $10. Now the risk, I mean, look at certain cards. You could buy a card and you're like, I think it's worth this, or everyone's buying it at this price. I'll spend $2,700 on it. I mean, in a week later, it could drop down to $2,000 and it's just $700 less. That means you kind of lost out on $700 of value. Yeah. But also that's what volatility is, right? It goes both ways. I mean, you could buy a card at $2,000 and next week it's $3,000, it's crazy.
Yeah. The thing is that volatility is actually a lot worse for business than people think.
Yes.
It's basically, it freezes business because, for instance, I would be happy to pick up a Magikarp like Vending. Today, if someone brought to me the Magikarp illustration rare, I don't know what I would pay for them.
Yeah.
There is no price, and we probably won't make that deal. But in a normal market, we can say, oh, that car's normally $100. I'll give you 80 for it. We both know the value. Easy handshake. But because markets are moving so quickly, it freezes what we are willing to buy because it's not safe
which
to
pauses,
make those purchases.
Exactly. It pauses economic decisions. And the more economic transactions you have, usually the stronger an economy is. But you're right. Volatility will pause certain things because no one wants to be the person that's left holding the hot potato at the end of the day.
Okay, so speaking of market speculation right now, have you seen some of the prices recently on new pre-orders? I know a lot of people are starting to talk about the World's merch for 2025. It looks really good. I like what I saw.
I like what I saw too. I mean, I think this is some of the more well-designed. I mean, it's always killer designs, which is why always people are excited about Pokemon Worlds, like the Hawaii designs last year were really awesome. I think for this, and the Anaheim theme and what they were going for, the backpack looks cool, the playmat looks cool, the hat, the lunchbox, everything looks great. I think.
That's the one big thing that people love to go to Pokemon Worlds is for the exclusive merch. It's always kind of an experience because it's kind of like the best and the worst of both worlds, where a lot of people do scoop up a lot of products from Pokemon Worlds because it's valuable. Like that's the honest truth is that I remember one of the more exclusive stuff from the Honolulu World Championship was the Bear Walker skateboard that came out last year.
Sick. He did, but shout outs to Bear Walker. We should have him on the pod.
I met him at in Honolulu.
He can come on and
we'll
talk.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the Hawaii board is one of the coolest looking skateboards ever.
If you could be in Honolulu and pick it up, it was going for right around $200, and I think on the secondary market right now this year, it's like $800.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So that's what people talk about, like why people love the merch so much.
He's an artist.
Valuable.
Yeah, it's good. It's good looking. There's no skateboard for LA, huh?
We don't know that. We don't know that.
It could. Yeah, it could just come out. Seems like actually, because isn't LA like I feel like a pretty good hub for, well, I guess it's Anaheim, but
it's kind of like
it could do whatever.
Kind of like an skateboard area. Is Honolulu a skateboard area? Who really knows?
Right. I don't know. They're cool. Yeah, but whatever. If he designs one, I'm sure it'll look fantastic.
Yeah. The other big one that's happening is that, and I'm really excited about this because I'm a huge Pikachu collector, is that in Japan, they're releasing a couple of upcoming new Japanese Pokemon Center. And whenever they release one of those, they add a new Pikachu promo card to a list. And I saw all of them, and they look gorgeous.
They look awesome. I'm excited for all three. Now, wait, are these, we were talking about it a little bit before the pod. It's like, these aren't 3 new cities that are getting a brand new Pokemon Center, or is it? Or is it like Pokemon Centers that are already established that are just coming out with a new Pokemon Center promo?
I think these are 3 new Pokemon Center in 3 different new cities.
Really?
And they're all in Japan. And they always do a new Pikachu to represent the culture of that city, because Japan is really big on being iconic and unique in their distinct cities and prefectures. Is that every single prefecture and every single city has a unique kind of personality to it. And they really shine through in the art of the Pokemon Center Pikachu promos, and they really are cool, and they haven't done one in a long time. The last one that they did was the Kanazawa Pikachu, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago, and that was my card of the year when it came out. So with 3 new Pikachus, I don't know which one's going to be my card of the year, but I've seen the speculations on these cards, and basically on eBay, people are pre-ordering these Pikachu promo cards for hundreds and thousands of dollars is what I'm seeing sales for.
There's already last solds for $1,000.
Oh yeah, for the new Pikachu Pokemon Center stamp cards.
I don't get how the Kanazawa Pikachu, I remember when that came out. We had already been, we were talking about how cool that card looked. And I think even when I got mine, the price of it has gone, it's not that crazy even in a PSA 10 to get that
so
card.
for instance, right, when the Kanazawa Pikachu card came out, I was picking up copies for right around $10 to $20 a copy.
Okay, right.
And it hasn't really jumped that much. And the reason for it, because there is 26,000 PSA 10s of it. It's not that rare.
But there's that many PSA 10s of the Van Gogh Pikachu, right?
Right, but I guess the Van Gogh Pikachu has a lot more recent demand or hype around it. It's got a lot more eyes balled looking on it, for instance. And it was a little bit more historical or world shaking in that way of like everyone recognizes it in a way that the Kanazawa Pikachu, I don't think a lot of people see it the same way. And I kind of see these new Pikachu the same way. Is that basically people are almost paying Mario Pikachu level prices for cards that shouldn't be. They're $20 box. They're the same $20 box. They are nice Pikachu cards that come in retail prices with little deck box at $20 a box.
Yeah.
But people are already pre-ordering them as if they're Japan Post promo level prices or Mario Pikachu or Poncho Pikachu level prices, and they're not that. And they're not there yet.
There's gonna be a lot of them. I feel like there's these
are promo cards that they pass out as you walk in the door.
Every Pokemon Center promo, I feel like Pikachu has been somewhat easily accessible, especially if you just look online and you don't have to go to the Japanese markets. You can just buy them like online anywhere.
Very likely, and I'm not like saying like I have like back listings for these, but very likely someone's going to DM me from Japan in the next couple of months and say like, hello, I have access to 1,000 of these Pikachus. Would you like some?
That's
very likely, because they just have so many of these copies coming out of the cities there. I don't know how they get 1,000 copies. We won't talk about that. But they do get thousands of copies. They're not that rare.
What if it's just like the Japanese scalpers? Like they just go with like 10 family members or like their friends, and they like walk through the Pokemon Center. They each each collect their promo and they look around for a little bit and walk out, and then they come back 3 hours later wearing like
That's
a
the
fake
least suspicious
mustache,
thing.
and then they
It's
go back
really
in
like
and
almost
get
like
10 more.
employee level backdooring, you know what I mean?
Yo,
And we've
you
talked
think
about
it's
this.
that?
Yeah,
I guess they
we've talked
could do
about this.
that
Is that
too.
like for like the Van Gogh Pikachu? How do you end up with a sealed box of Van Gogh Pikachu?
Oh, yeah.
There's no legal way that you get a sealed box of it. There's no legal way that someone's going to get themselves a 1,000 sealed case of one of these new Pokemon Center stamp Pikachus. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's no legal way of doing it. But like those will get out there. That's just how leaks happen. You can't control these things. They aren't tracked.
It's interesting because I do feel like if there's a lot of hype around the Pokemon Center exclusive Pikachu promos, it almost like, okay, Van Gogh, like you said, I think there was a lot. There is more. It is more prestigious, right? It has more prestige. But do you see a world where enough demand or hype can be injected into these Pokemon Center promos that despite the high population that we know it's already going to have in a PSA 10, it can help make it kind of be a, I don't know, like a upper level card, like a $800,000-$900,000 card in a PSA 10? I mean, it's kind of staggering now how much large supply seems to mean nothing to people now, because I think the world is thinking about like just the overall general market is kind of different now. I recognize this with sealed product too, because it's not like every collector now is thinking, oh, I just got to get my one. I got it in my collection and I'm done. Every collector is now thinking, oh, I like this. I want one for my personal collection. And I also think this is going to go up because I've seen the pre-solds online on eBay for 1,000 and I think it's a cool looking artwork. And it's like, whether the intentionality of the speculation is accurate or not, if you get enough people to think that way, whether there's legitimate basis for it or not, it makes, person one buy an extra 5 or 10 copies, and then they just keep it, they keep it sealed away. They keep it in their closet. They want it to appreciate, right? So they become that sealed collector of, they're holding a bunch. And if you have a bunch of people treating it that way, those copies are technically off the market. And so it creates this thing where even if it seems like there's high supply, really what's available to the market is not so high,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's something that I had probably said too many times, which is basically it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is basically
protects itself.
If 100 people all think, I think this card's going to go up, and they all buy the card, 10 copies of it, it suddenly does go up because they all did what they wanted it to do.
Is that a hack? And then
it's not a hack because there is risk involved. Because sometimes you say, I think this card will go up, and they buy 10 copies, and it doesn't go up, and it actually goes down.
So when do we see that happen in the market? And guys, this is good for all of you card loungers listening. It's if you are not in Pokemon and Pokemon collecting for the love of the game, please do not treat Pokemon cards or like what we're even saying about them as financial advice, or only looking at cards based on their monetary value of what you can buy or sell them for. It's like, at the end of the day, these are collectibles. People appreciate them whether they're worth a penny or if their value goes to 10,000.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people someone has to get burned for the market to correct in the way that you're describing, right? And it has to happen. Or what I'm saying is that anyone could believe in anything, buy some of it, everyone else believes it, and all the money goes up and all the market goes up, and that just can't happen with every card.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people will look at us and say like, hey, Rob and Jake, aren't you guys doing kind of like the same thing? Like, why don't you guys buy cards because you think of the same thing? And we're not there. And I'll explain it. Is that basically I bought my Magic card not because I expected it to be super expensive and that I'm making some kind of speculative play. I'm buying it because I want it inside of my collection. It is a super cool card that I want inside of my collection, and I don't want to buy it because it's more expensive. So I'm going to try to buy it when it's cheaper, purely because it is something that I would like to have inside of my collection. Not because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I want to make so much money when I'm selling this card. If it goes to $3,000, obviously I'm going to sell it in 2 weeks because it's, I bought it for 1,000 and I don't think it's worth $3,000. I should sell it so that I can add other cards to my collection. That's why we buy and sell and do what we do in the hobby. But we're not buying cards because we're immediately thinking this card's going to be really valuable down the line. We're buying it because we want it in our collection, and it's guess the end result is different. We're not buying out of speculation because of price value. We're buying it because we want it in our collection and we don't want to pay the more expensive price down the line.
You don't want to pay the more expensive price, but you won't always sell it if it achieves that $3,000. Like sometimes I buy a card and I'm like, I do think this is undervalued. And of course I don't want to buy it when it's more expensive, but even like I've bought cards where, you know, the card could go to $50,000 and I'm still not going to sell my one copy of it.
There are cards that I will never
wanna
sell,
keep it.
like Mario Pikachu. Like that's a card inside of my collection, or my screen promos.
Okay,
I would never
okay,
sell
I
some
gotcha.
cards. But let's say the Magikarp illustration rare. I purposely bought multiple copies because, hey, it'd be great to have some copies because what if something happens down the line? That's normal. We typically buy multiple copies. I had multiple copies of Mario Pikachu. I had multiple copies of screen promos. I sell off my extras. Having extra copies inside of a collection is not unusual, especially for a card that you really like. But basically, that's very common, is that if a card goes from $1,000 to $3,000 in the course of 2 weeks, it doesn't matter what that card, if I bought it 2 weeks ago, it's very unlikely that I have a strong emotional attachment to that card from 2 weeks ago. And I'm happy to make that immediate flip because I don't agree with the $3,000 price, for instance, which is what I said, is that if that $3,000 price for the Magikarp sticks to Card Party, which happens in 2 weeks, then yes, I'm absolutely happy to sell off the card that I bought 2 weeks ago to pay for the trip and to pay for all the future giveaways I'm going to do during Card Party.
Right.
Right.
Okay,
that makes total reasonable sense.
Well, I see. Okay, and I see what you're saying now, because it's kind of like well, here's my question. Would you sell off every single copy of the Magikarp you got?
No, I will always have one.
Okay, right. You
Right.
would always keep one. And that is kind of the cool thing about like getting multiples of a thing, because you never know what could happen with one. Like if one gets damaged or lost, it's like you have an extra to protect your collection. But as long as you're protecting your first one, fine, and you don't throw it around or drop it off a 20-story building, it's kind of like, you know, you got the one in your collection, and if that card becomes super, super valuable, and then, you know, you have a second one or a third one in your collection, it is nice to know that you can sell off the extra copy, and it's basically like you got the first one in your collection for free.
That's that's actually how seasoned collectors do it, is that basically at the point where I'm at in collecting, my hobby self-feeds itself, is that I don't have to spend additional money that I have worked for to add to my hobby.
Right.
Because my hobby has reached the point where if I need to, I can sell off, like you said, an extra copy of the Magikarp. So now that's how it pays for additional Destined Rivals booster box or Black and White booster box, is that my collection has reached the point where I'll just sell off my one extra copy. That is super common for collectors to do long term. Is that the hobby has reached the point where my hobby self-feeds itself.
Yeah, it is nice to know. Like, I remember thinking that when I first got back into the hobby, I was like, I have a goal to hit this, almost like this 5-year cycle, because that's what I noticed about stuff 5 years before 2019, is stuff in 2014 was like this value. And I was like, wait a second. And then 2020, everything jumped up, and I'm like, man, I wish I had this stuff from 5 years ago, because that stuff's so expensive. But it's almost like if you buy a box, and I would buy extra booster boxes, and you hold some and you rip some, when you want to rip more later, you don't have to buy them at the expensive price. You can just buy what's in your supply. But also, if you just want to rip whatever the new set is, if you've got stuff from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I mean, even 2 years ago at this point, you can sell one of the boxes from 2 years ago to get a whole new case of the new product. Then you can almost rip like 3-4 boxes, rip way more, and then you're holding on to those 2 boxes, and you don't touch. And then like 2 years from there, you can sell those 2, and you get 2 cases or 3 cases of the new, and you kind of just can never really have to inject new money into the hobby. The hobby kind of like is self-preserving, as long as you don't, you stay in the hobby. Remember, that's like key. And you just don't, I don't know, do anything ridiculous with your money, like
If
open
someone,
up all your sealed stuff all the time.
Yeah, basically, if someone wants to call me like, oh, Jake, you're just a flipper, I'm okay with that. If that's your definition of flipping, I've gone through that thought process, is that basically I don't think I'm a flipper. And that the reason basically is that intent is important. Is, did I purchase this with the intent of flipping it or scalping it? I did not intent on that.
Right.
It's basically like, let's say you purchase a concert ticket, right? and you're fully planning on going to this concert. But let's say you can't make it.
Right. Then people
and
are
if
like,
you sell it,
"You don't
it's not
scalp your
because you're
tickets."
scalping.
Yeah.
You're not flipping it. You fully intended to keep it. For instance, the Magikarp, I fully intend on keeping that card. And I will always have one copy. But you bet darn if that card goes up 300% in 2 weeks, I'm going to sell it.
It sounded like you wanted to say, you bet your bibby.
What's a bibby?
I don't know. It sounded like what you were going to say. Well, that's a very good metaphor. I like that because there's people that like you get sick or something happens with some other plans and you're like, guys, I'm trying to sell my concert tickets. Usually they'll just sell them for what you paid for it. So it's like you're not out money. But if they're really rare concert tickets, maybe you can make a little bit more money. Just because that person sells it for a little more money doesn't make them a scalper. Truly scalper it is the intent part that is key. And only you really know that. So it's like even people calling you names like flipper or scalper doesn't really bother, me either. Because like even on live streaming, some people might chime in and chirp that, but I know what my intent is. So it's like, okay, whatever. It's kind of like then with like Taylor Swift tickets, right? Like if you miss it, you have to sell it to a friend or someone buys it, good. If you make more money because they're rare concert tickets, good. Taylor Swift always sells out, but people also scalp their tickets. If you're a dude that bought 100 Taylor Swift tickets with like 100 different accounts or different credit cards, you're not intending to go and fill up 100 seats. You're buying those to then go to a secondary market and try to sell the tickets for double. And that's why that's such a big deal that
Another
Taylor
thing
Swift's
I'll
trying to
say
stop that.
Is that even if your intent was to go, and let's say you can still go, but the ticket price reaches a point where it's more valuable for you to sell it, it's okay to sell it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Is that basically, let's say you wanted to go to see Taylor Swift and you're not sick, but the prices of the ticket reaches 10 grand, and at that price point, it just makes more meaningful sense for you to sell it.
Yes, I see what you're
it's
saying.
completely okay for you to sell it because
the
value is so worth it for you to do so many other things.
Yeah.
With that 10 grand, maybe you can go on like 10 vacations. And that's more worth it to you than going to one Taylor Swift concert. It just makes meaningful sense.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to say is that when a car reaches a certain point and it makes meaningful sense for you to sell it, there's no skin off my bones for selling a car. You know what I mean?
That's
going to happen.
You could really love Taylor Swift, be a fan, and if her tickets become like $2,000, which I'm sure some of her, I don't know, like if they're really up close or whatever, and then, your car breaks down and you need to spend $800 on a new, whatever, then you're just like, oh, if I sell this ticket, I can fix my car problem.
I did a video on this recently, which is that a lot of my collection has reached kind of valuable point where it's meaningful money. Is that I have one copy of my Mario Pikachu left. I don't want to sell it, but if it reaches $100,000, $1 million, I should probably sell it at $1 million because that's life-changing money for my family, right? Even if I love that Mario Pikachu, at a certain point, yes, you have to sell the card.
No, I can never sell it, even at $1 million.
I would probably sell it at $1 million because that's life-changing money.
I don't have one. I need to get that card. Guys, Jake has told me not to buy that card.
I didn't say not to buy it.
At 3K, then at 5K, then at 7K. When am I going to get the card, Jake?
Okay.
When am I going to get it?
Okay, I didn't say not to buy the card. I said it didn't make reasonable financial sense or something of that nature.
Which means not to buy it.
It's true. I did say not to buy it. So I can just flex on you every episode, and this will be for the end of time.
I do want a full art. I have the mini ones.
Right.
So I was so smart to get the mini ones. Why didn't I get the full arts at the same time?
You didn't have the money.
I know. I thought they would also go down, and then they just keep going up, which is crazy. I don't know. Yeah.
You know what's another crazy card that's been going up? One that you might get your hand on soon, which is the Chinese Mew, 1,510 copies of it. You might get yourself a copy, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, hopefully. I had a homie go out in China, and he was like, knows collectors out there, and I think was able to get a couple copies. And
you heard that right, people. Everyone, get yourself a Chinese homie to get yourself a Mew 1,510 copy.
He was just in China visiting or doing something for work. I don't know. But yeah, he had access to be able to purchase multiple. So that's good. I don't know when I'm going to, link up
it's kind of
him.
Crazy when you say he had access to purchase multiple of a very exclusive card.
Yeah. I mean, if you just know the people that probably sourced it from the people that won the lottery, that is the weird thing, though. It is. I mean, they've only released I guess it's a new month. So what? Another 150 came out?
Right.
But
So
they only
basically, if you
released
haven't heard about this
150.
new Chinese Mew, it's exclusive to China. It's a special illustration rare that only they get it. And they are releasing 1,510 copies of it. And they are releasing 151 copies of this Mew every single month for the next 10 months. And right now, it's currently in the second month. So we have around 300 copies floating around out there. And currently, as we look at auction listing prices, it used to be 5,000, 7,000, 10,000, and I think the last PSA 10 or CGC 10 copy sold for right around $17,000, which is kind of ridiculous, even for a limited copy. Like, I understand it's rare, 1,510 copies. That's not that many copies, but even then, $17,000 seems a lot for this card. But it shows how crazy and how deep the pockets has gone for Pokemon card collecting, is that the people that are collecting these cards are not normal people.
Yeah.
These are like luxury people who can buy cards of this magnitude on a whim.
Right. I mean, 17,000 to certain millionaires is probably like us spending $5. You know, it's like, yeah, on a whim, if someone tells them it's cool.
You already
like,
have 5 Birkin
cool,
bag.
rich
What's
people-
another Mew?
Yeah, just get a Mew. I mean, and I guess if I had to, with how popular Pokemon is right now, and you look at all the streamers that are into it, and like they make a ton of money, but also just think about people that aren't notable or popular people or people that we are even aware of online. They're just, you know, they're rich. Like they own factories or jobs or whatever, and they are just like, I want to buy that Mew, and they'll drop 17 grand on it. I firmly believe there's probably more than 1,000. I think there's more than 5,000 millionaires that exist on the planet that love Pokemon that would buy that card. So,
Yeah.
you know, if they just get them all, then, and there's going to be the people that want to collect multiple of that card to flex. So it's not even like one person gets one and they're like, I'm done, right? You know, there's someone rich enough to be like, I want to own 10 of those, or I want to try to get as many as I can. And as long as you get 10, even just, well, if you get 2 people competing on trying to catch them all, then, you know, the price is just going to be driven up. So
You're absolutely right. Is that I think you're onto something. Is that normally I would say in a normal market, even though this card is rare, knowing the population on it, it really shouldn't be 17,000. It might be
I don't
5
think
or
so.
10,000.
Yeah.
But you're right. Is that if someone out there with deep enough pockets and they're saying like, dude, I know exactly how many copies of this card there are out there, and I just want as many copies as possible, and eventually like literally corner this market, they could do that.
yeah.
There's just some dude
They
out there,
can.
some Saudi person or whoever with $100 million in their bank account. They could do that just for fun.
For fun, I know.
Yeah, for fun. It's for a whim.
Like they want to do it like on the weekend. Like, how many Mews can I buy? It's like a little challenge to them. And then a week later, they're like, all right, I'm done with this. I just want to buy
Yeah,
Ferraris
they
now.
just blow on their credit card, wipe it a little bit, and it's no big deal. They just went on eBay and literally buy every single listing. There's like 20 listings. They're all 10 grand each. They just bought every listing, and they're like, oh, no big deal.
Man, I wish, hopefully one day we'll have that kind of money.
I was
to
literally
just be
thinking about this, is that
splurging around.
you and I might have to pool our money together to get
To
one
get one.
copy for the card lounge. Like, that's the level we're at, where we have to like,
And share it.
we would have to go on Klarna payment plans to get this Mew.
Yeah, we would have to co-parent it, you
Yeah.
know? Like you can have it on the Wednesday through Saturday, and I get the card Sunday
Right.
through Tuesday. Yeah. All right, we'll co-parent one. We'll adopt a Mew together.
All right, guys, that's going to be one of our goals, is that Card Lounge is going to try to get one of these 1,510 exclusive Mews. And that's going to be
Yeah.
one of the Card Lounge goals for this year. We'll see if we can weasel our way amongst all of these super rich people to get one copy.
Yeah, if someone has a copy and you're going to, you know, Card Party, Deep Pocket Monsters convention party that's happening in Florida in 2 weeks, right?
We'll
You
be
know,
there.
Bring
We're giving away a lot of packs and cards.
You know, if you want to sell a Mew, we'll potentially take a look at it and throw you an offer. And then also we'll be at, you know, Front Row Las Vegas. So the next Front Row card show, we'll have more mega booster packs, you know. So if you guys want to try to
Yep, these are going to be available for purchase. Click the link down in the description. Thank you so much for watching the Card Lounge
Yep.
podcast. We really appreciate you. This can't happen without your viewership and your listen.
Yes.
So thank you so much. We want to make this the best podcast possible, and we are listening to your feedback. We literally read every single comment, and we do take your comments into consideration. We are trying to be better hosts. We understand the issues that we have to work on, and we're working on them.
look
Thank
how
you so
good
much.
this audio is, guys. All right, appreciate you guys. Thanks for lounging with us.
Peace out, everyone.